Okay, we are ready to rock and roll. Thanks for joining us again, vinyl community. We hope you enjoyed the last episode. I've got my friend, my special guest, Big John, and welcome again to Tony's LPSRUS. Today we have a great topic. We're talking about banned LP jacket covers that got woke. And by getting woke in the sense that they become homogenized and they become corrected so that they're able to be sold in record stores, or that people aren't offended. But the original covers back in the day were offensive. Today they're not so much, but some of them still are. Some of them were able to show, and some were not able to show. But we will talk about those. And here I have Big John again, who you remember.
Right.
And Big John's going to start out with the first installment of this LP. John, you're on.
Yeah, June 1966, Los Angeles, California. President Manager Ron Tepper of Capitol Records issued a letter about this particular album cover.
Hold that up while you talk about it.
Okay. This was released as by the Beatles as a result of the way Capitol Records were chopping up the UK versions of the albums and releasing a shorter version to get multiple copies of the albums in the United States. Now, there's some advantages to the US version that the UK versions don't have. They're smaller, fewer songs, but they have deeper grooves, so they sound better, supposedly. But the Beatles were not happy with this.
And this was called Yesterday and Today. And here you see the advertisement jacket. Okay, John.
All right. Okay. I am going to read the
Tell
letter.
Tell them about the letter. This is a mimeograph copy of the letter that went out to all the retailers, record stores, probably distributors, etc.
June 14th, 1966, Capitol Records issued this letter. Dear reviewer, in the past few days, you may have received an advanced promotional copy of the Beatles' new albums, Yesterday and Today. In accordance with the following statement from Alan Livingston, president of Capitol Records Incorporated, the original album cover is being discarded and a new jacket is being prepared. The original cover, created in England, was intended as pop art satire. However, a sample of public opinion in the United States indicates that this cover design is subject to misinterpretation. For this reason, and to avoid possible controversy or undeserved harm to the Beatles' image or reputation, Capitol Records has chosen to withdraw the LP and substitute a more generally acceptable design. All consumer copies of the Beatles album will be packaged with the new cover, which will be available within the next week to 10 days. As soon as they are, we will be forwarded a copy. In the meantime, we would appreciate disregarding the promotional album and, if at all possible, returning it COD to Capitol Records in Hollywood, California. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Ron Tepper, Manager, Press and Information Service.
And here's a copy of the Xerox letter, which we have for our files. And these are pretty cool. Comments, if anybody needs a copy, just write me and we'll send it out to you. Just send out that postage money, because it's not cheap anymore to mail out stuff in a cardboard paper envelope.
Okay, but the album cover you can't have.
Right, the album cover we don't have many.
But we happen to have the album cover in question. This is the reissued version, 1966. This was the one that the record company produced. Now, if you have one that was pressed in Los Angeles, a first pressing, and you might have as a second stage. It's known as a second stage. People could peel off this cover and they get that cover. Can we show the other cover, please? This is the original cover by the Beatles. they wanted this cover because they were not happy with the fact that Capitol Records was divvying up the UK versions, making shorter versions of the American albums.
And legend has it that 50,000 copies of the original Yesterday and Today, which is now known as the Butcher Cover album, was released to stores. Okay, well, that's it. Everyone knows the Butcher Cover story. We just thought we'd add it because out of covers that were banned, that's probably one of the earliest.
That's the most famous
and
of
one
all
of the
of them.
earliest.
However, we have to get now to the bad boys of rock and roll. You know who they are. You know who the bad boys of rock and roll are?
I do. I think these talk about
these
the Rolling
guys,
Stones.
The Rolling Stones. All right, this album is very familiar. It's a little raunchy. It shows a man's pants, and it has a working zipper. But this is one of the most iconic rock albums.
Designed by Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol. And it came out in 1971. It's one of the best rock albums of the 70s. It wasn't banned in the US or most of the world. And in Russia, actually issued it with a different cover. Unfortunately, we don't have one that showed a belt buckle of the Russian army. There is a Russian.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that? Well,
no.
You learn something new every day.
I did not know that. And what was this replaced with in that country?
One country did not like this country, and that country was Spain. And Spain had to do their own thing. So they issued it with this cover. Now, the raunchy cover that everybody knows, that's not the collectible one. This one is. This one shows the can of goo with the fingers coming out and the can opener. And this is the Spanish version of Sticky Fingers. So if you were in Spain in 1971 and you wanted the new Stones album, this is what you got.
So this was only released in Spain.
Only in Spain.
Okay, moving along with the Bad Boys. John, talk about this cover.
This one I'll let you talk about because I don't know a lot about this one.
What we're talking about is the Beggars Banquet LP, and this was the original cover of Beggars Banquet.
That's the UK cover.
The UK cover, you can see it's in a men's, we would assume a men's toilet in some raunchy club, probably in Chelsea or some part. There's toilet paper there. It's all disgusting. There's things on it, which we won't go into because these phone numbers are still active. So this was banned or discarded.
Discarded in the U.S.
Yeah,
that was released in the U.K.
And here's the rear, and the rear also has graffiti, and it's a gatefold. The gatefold is the same as the woke cover. Here's the spine, and here's the cover that we all know. Another greatest rock and roll records of all time. This has Sympathy for the Devil. Sympathy for the Devil was also controversial. So the whole thing was controversial. Street Fighting Man was controversial. Stray Cat Blues, if you listen to the lyrics, I don't think they would write that song today.
No.
Okay, so this is a mother effing great record. And here's the cover we all know. Here's the rear with the songs. Gatefold is the same. A decadent party of 7 or 8 lavishing in a castle somewhere in London town or somewhere in England.
Somewhere in the UK.
Okay, so we're moving along. We have another Stones record. And John, I'll let you talk about this one.
This one I'm very familiar with. Okay, we do not have a copy of the band one available, but this one.
Well, we do.
No, we don't. These are both.
Well, I'll you talk and I'll find it. Excuse me.
All right.
Yep.
What happened with this album when it came out in 1978? The Stones decided to put celebrities on the album, and they never asked them for their permission. Lucille Ball, Carol Channing, a few other celebrities, and some girls. And what happened was they got in a lot of trouble for that. The celebrities did not want their pictures on the album cover. But what happened was they reissued it with this cover. Here's a copy of the original cover.
John, I'm off camera, but I also want to say I have another variant that was reissued. Right there.
Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, that's a generic cover.
A generic cover. I've never seen this one.
Right.
I didn't even know this existed until just this.
Thank you. Let me slide over. Let me get over. And here's the original.
Okay, this is the one that's gotten a lot of trouble.
This is still sealed. And these came in variants of different colors. So you bought this for $6.99, and I don't know if they were out about a month, and then the lawsuits started coming in.
I have a cousin, a family member who knew about this, and he bought every variant of the cover.
That was me.
No, that was another cousin.
Well, I bought one too. And this variant is very rare.
I've never seen this one.
Right.
I've never.
So that's a generic of this. So everyone has seen this, and maybe you don't know that there's different variants of that. So that's the Stones, and we're going to move along to another one of John's favorites, which John is a Pink Floyd.
Yeah, Pink Floyd again. They're not exactly bad boys like the Stones, but in 1969 they released this album, Umaguma. All right, this is not the band cover. This is the reissue because it got a lot of trouble for putting Gigi.
The soundtrack of the film.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't authorized for them to put the GG on the cover, and they got in trouble. So original first pressings show the GG on it. And I saw on eBay somebody trying to sell this cover as an original. I know right off the bat, no GG, not an original. So be careful when you're buying your Umagumas.
But what you have to be careful is the reissues. They probably paid for the right to have Gigi, the Stones organization. So the reissues go back to the original Floyd. And most reissues, because like I said, at the time, they weren't authorized. They are authorized now. So this is the cover, but this is the original. And this is what it looked like when it was replaced. We're moving along. We're not showing the original jacket, but John, I want you to explain it. And that is the Blind Faith cover.
Yeah. Okay. This album was released in 1969, one of the great iconic supergroups of the era. But the original cover showed a naked girl holding a silver airplane.
Probably an underage girl.
Who knows?
We don't know.
We don't know. Probably, I would say, looking at the picture, most likely. Now, the UK released it. It was released in the United States for a very brief time on the yellow Atco label, and it got pulled immediately. So the yellow Atco version of that with the nudie cover is the collectible one.
And we also have another band cover in the U.S. that first made its appearance in the U.K. We're not going to show that cover either, but John will explain it, and that's Electric Ladyland.
I was lucky enough to find both of those. This one.
Hendrix, the classic. Hendrix's third studio album.
Yeah, this is 1968, Electric Ladyland. In the UK only, they released a cover that had a bunch of naked women on it, dark, topless, and it was on the and it was called Electric Ladyland.
It was a gatefold.
A gatefold. Not too happy with the censors in the US, so they released it with this cover in the United States.
And now the reissues, of course.
No, the reissues
don't have it.
I don't think that it was ever reissued.
And it's on tracks.
Actually, it was originally released on Track Records in the UK. Then there was a Polydor. I happen to have the Polydor one. That is a reissue. And that's it.
My next up is an American band, I believe, Moby Grape. And Moby Grape was a band in the 60s, psychedelia. And you have Don Stevenson, Bob Mosley, and it's on Columbia. And if you could see here, this slipped through the censors. If you could see by the wash tub there, the washboard, he's actually using a middle finger. Now, this got past the censors initially, and then once the public caught on, it was woke, and we have the airbrush finger disappears. This is a great psychedelia album. the band had some tragic occurrences where they didn't stay together too long because of personal tragedies within the band, but they're worth looking up. We have another one that John just pulled. It's an American
we almost
release.
forgot.
We almost forgot.
It's a critically acclaimed album. It's one of my favorite Dylan albums.
And this is Blonde on Blonde. John, you want to show us?
Yeah, this came out in 1966. And it's been reissued many times on Columbia. And there was a stereo version and a mono version. The mono version original is the most desired. Is
that what this is?
This one is
stereo.
No, this is a mono cover.
A mono cover.
Yeah,
right.
the album is not.
Well,
here.
in this case, the record is insignificant. It's the jacket you would want as a collector.
What makes this album so significant? You see this picture of this actress in the middle there, right here. That's Claudia Cardinal. She wasn't. She did not want her picture on the album cover, so they had to pull it. And every subsequent version of Blonde on Blonde after that had to be pulled back and reissued with a different gatefold. So the original Blonde on Blonde from 1966, if you could find one, they're worth a lot. The Claudia Cardinal.
And what
cover.
I can remember on looking up this situation was that Dylan was looking through his photographer's book. What would you call that?
Photo album.
Photo album, and he saw the model, a picture of Claudia, and he goes, "I want her in my album." He doesn't even know Claudia. He didn't know Claudia. They just printed it, and then her manager got involved. Claudia didn't even know. She's an Italian actress of very high regard, and they pulled it, and it's never been in any subsequent issues. So this is one of my treasures here. Very hard to find. John, you have an import.
I have a UK pressing,
a
stereo one. The mono one is the desired one.
And this
hard
one,
to get.
We have a couple more. And this one, John had told me about this one. This is Fogerty's Center Field.
1984.
You want to talk about this one, John?
John Fogerty used to record with record company with Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fantasy Records, run by Saul Zaentz. And somehow, I don't know the exact details, but he got screwed over in a record deal, a contract deal. So he was not pleased about it. So he released this album.
This is John's solo album.
In 1984. This is years after Creedence.
But
he stated his
publishing problems, copyright problems.
He expressed his opinion on Mr. Saul Zaentz. And he released the song "Zaentz Can't Dance," and he got in a little bit of trouble for it.
Zaentz did not
so he had to re-record the song "Zaentz Can't Dance" and reissue the album with the original. He had to reissue the album with "Zaentz Can't Dance," and the original version with "Zaentz Can't Dance" is the desired.
It's the collectible. Can you show that? Will it pick up here?
We could. Probably.
Let me show.
This is the one.
Yeah, show that. Yeah, just go up. You can see that. You can see that there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
When you're looking for,
here's the.
If you're a collector of Fogerty or Creedence, you want to look for the version.
This is a great sounding. Yeah, this is a great, and they're out there because no one knows about this. They're not a lot.
Well, they know now,
though, but now they know. But this is out there. The last one we're going to end with, unfortunately, is a tragic situation. And John will talk about that one. And the reason the record was changed wasn't because of any band controversy.
Yeah,
didn't become woke.
Sad.
It's just the fallout of what happened to this super group, this American iconic band. People just could not face the circumstances of what happened, and the following record. The record that we're going to talk about, I think, was released a few days after the tragedy or before the tragedy.
It was released before the tragedy,
right.
And then after the tragedy occurred, they had to pull it.
And that is Skinner.
This is a very iconic, one of their most famous albums.
Street Survivors.
And
this has on it What's Your Name, That Smell.
Yeah,
I know that this record.
It's famous record.
And here's
it's probably their most famous studio album.
And the record that this replaced.
Actually, this is the replaced.
That's
copy.
the replaced copy.
This one here.
This is the one that was out.
They all, not all of them, but a good
died tragically.
Yeah, they died in the plane crash. So.
And this, as you could see, the plane went down in flames. So this was such a reminder of this loss in the world of rock and roll and all their loved ones that the companies pulled it. Now the subsequent reissues, I believe, is this covered?
I don't know.
I think so.
I think they did reissue.
This is highly collectible. If you see this in the wild, it's probably going to go for over 100. And the records are the same, but this is it. So any more comments, John, on band records? Anything else we were going to talk about we don't have?
No, that's it. That's it for today.
There's many band records. This is just a few that we had, and we came up with this topic. So subscribe to that button. Big John's going to be a regular. Great job, John. Very easy to work with.
All right.
Okay, well, hey, Tony's LPSRUS.
Keep hunting.
Keep rocking. Keep hunting.
And keep rocking.
Leave those comments. We got plenty more coming. We got some great topics. And this was Covers That Got Woke. For good or for bad, we're happy with the result. Keep rocking. Tony's LPSRUS. Ciao. Thanks for joining us today once again.